What sport do you play? So, up until the ninth grade, if somebody asked me that question, the only answer I would have was, oops, I'm a failure. I did not have a single sporty bone in my body. However, that changed when I discovered my sport, when I became an equestrian. So, you see, I deal with beasts that weigh 600 kilograms and have mindsets of 5-year-old children as my sport. And all these beasts can ever think about is how to throw the rider off their backs and beeline towards that golden stack of hay. These beasts can either be whipped until they bleed into obeying, or, similar to 5-year-old children, they can be hushed and gushed and dealt with care. I used to think that with horses, all that matters from when you get on it to off of it is the rider's position. Because if the rider's position is off in the slightest, the rider will get kicked in the stomach. And I am speaking from experience. However, what I did not realize was that horses have this beautiful ability. Horses can sense emotion. So, if a horse senses fear or distrust from the rider, the horse takes greater joy in disobeying the rider and will most probably drop it and kick it in the stomach. And once again, I am speaking from experience. I realized this the hard way 2 weeks after I first began with my sport. Me and my horse were at a greater speed, and suddenly I lost control of his reins and he slipped on a puddle of water and I flew off him, straight into the hospital bed. I ended up with 2 fractured bones and 2 months on bed rest. And while I was on this bed rest, I couldn't help but think about where I had gone wrong. My position was correct, my commands were perfect, and I couldn't think of something I had done wrong. So, in the end, I ended up thinking, meh, I shouldn't have trusted that horse anyways. And that was when I realized I didn't trust the horse. That was where I had gone wrong. So, I stepped into the arena after my 2-month bed rest with newfound confidence and a will to learn, to understand, and to communicate. I began trying to listen to everything my horse was trying to signal to me. How it was moving, how it was breathing, and most importantly, I noticed how well it was listening to me. I began trying to give him more liberty to move around, which in horse language translates to, I trust you, buddy, and I think I'm safe with you. I began trying to understand the language of the horse, and he began trying to understand the language of his human. With baby steps together, we began to gain each other's trust. And I think that listening to him when he didn't even speak taught me how to listen to those around me who are actually speaking. So, well, teachers, if you think I listened to you today, you have my horse to thank. Me and my horse, we had an unbreakable bond. And it's not like other riders wouldn't be paired up with him, they would. But nobody understood him as well as I did. And he didn't understand anybody else as well as he understood me. So I'd taken a week of a break from the stables because I had my exams, and I returned. And I was so excited because I would get to see my horse again. And I stepped into the arena and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. But my horse wasn't there. My horse, he was no more. I didn't know what to do. I was so shook, So I decided to take a week of a break from the stables again. And I thought to myself, that horse, he first gave me broken bones, and then he left me with a broken heart. I returned because I realized horses kept me sane and grounded. Because I was bewitched. Horses had become my sanctuary. Because no other sport affected me half as much like horse riding did. Maybe it was because no other sport involves becoming friends with and trusting a beast that weighs 600 kilograms that has a mindset of a 5-year-old child. Or maybe it's because through that horse, I learned how to trust, to understand, to communicate, and to love. So initially, I'd set out on a journey to find an answer to the question to what my sport was. Instead, I ended up finding a friend. I'd set out to learn a new sport. Instead, I ended up learning how I, as a person, needed to evolve and how I needed to trust. All thanks to my horse. This one was for you, Double S, to my greatest friend. Thank you.